Good evening all, welcome to Stark Tales. Tonight, we have some interesting scary stories for you. So get comfortable and let the darkness take control. I never believed in ghosts. Growing up in a small, sleepy town, I often dismissed the tales of haunted houses and restless spirits as mere folklore. But that all changed one fateful night when I stumbled upon an old abandoned house at the edge of town. It was a crisp autumn evening, and the sun had just dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. As I wandered through the overgrown path leading to the house, a chill crept up my spine. The structure loomed before me, its windows like dark, hollow eyes watching my every move. Despite the unease settling in my stomach, curiosity pushed me forward. I stepped inside, the door creaking ominously behind me. Dust motes danced in the fading light as I explored the dimly lit rooms, each filled with remnants of a forgotten past. Faded photographs lined the walls, their subjects long gone but seemingly staring back at me. I felt a strange pull toward a particular room. As I entered, I was struck by an overwhelming sense of sorrow. The air felt heavy, thick with unspoken words. In the corner stood an old rocking chair, gently swaying as if someone had just left it. I approached it cautiously, my heart racing. That's when I heard it, a soft whisper, barely audible yet unmistakable. "Help me." I froze, my breath hitching in my throat. The voice was faint but filled with desperation. I glanced around the room, half expecting to see someone lurking in the shadows. But there was no one. "Who's there?" I called out, my voice trembling. "Help me," the whisper echoed again, more insistent this time. Compelled by an inexplicable force, I moved closer to the rocking chair. As I did, the temperature dropped sharply and goosebumps prickled my skin. My heart pounded in my chest as I reached out to touch the chair. The moment my fingers brushed against the wood, a vision flooded my mind. A woman in a white dress, her face pale and eyes wide with fear. "Please," she pleaded silently, her lips moving but no sound escaping. Suddenly, I was transported back to that moment in time. I saw her standing in this very room, panic etched on her face as shadows closed in around her. My pulse quickened as I realized she was trapped in a loop of despair. I stumbled back, gasping for air. "What do you want from me?" I cried out into the empty room. "Free me." The urgency in her voice pierced through my fear. I felt a surge of empathy for this lost soul. She needed help, and somehow I was meant to provide it. Determined, I began to search the room for clues about her past. Old letters scattered on a dusty table caught my eye. They were love letters. Heartfelt words penned to someone named Thomas. Each letter hinted at a tragic love story cut short by betrayal and loss. As I pieced together her story, the whispers grew louder, more frantic. "Find him. Free me." With each revelation, I felt a bond forming between us, a connection that transcended time and space. I had to find Thomas. Leaving the house behind, I raced through town, following leads that led me to an elderly man living on the outskirts. His name was Thomas, a name that echoed in my mind like a mantra. When I arrived at his doorstep, breathless and anxious, he opened the door with a look of confusion and recognition. "I know why you're here," he said softly, his eyes filled with unshed tears. He led me inside and shared his story, a tale of love lost and regret that had haunted him for decades. As he spoke of her, I could feel her presence growing stronger beside me, urging us both to find closure. Together, we lit a candle and placed it on a small altar in his living room. "This is for you," he whispered into the flickering flame. "I'm so sorry." In that moment, the air shifted. A gentle breeze swept through the room, extinguishing the candle's flame, but leaving behind a warm glow that enveloped us both. The whispers faded into silence, replaced by a profound sense of peace. As I left Thomas's home, I glanced back one last time. The weight of sorrow had lifted from the old house at the edge of town, and though I never saw her again, I knew she was finally free. I walked away from that night forever changed, my disbelief shattered by the power of love and redemption that transcends even death itself. And now every time I pass that house, I feel a warm breeze against my skin and hear the faintest whisper of gratitude carried on the wind. Every year my grandmother would send me a beautifully wrapped gift for Christmas, even after she passed away. This year, I found a small box on my doorstep, adorned with a red ribbon and a tag that read, "To my dear Lucy." My heart raced as I remembered the last Christmas we spent together, her voice echoing in my mind. I carefully opened the box to find an old music box, its surface engraved with intricate designs. As I wound it up, the haunting melody filled the room, and I felt an icy chill sweep through me. Suddenly, the lights flickered, and I caught a glimpse of her, my grandmother, standing in the corner of the room, her face pale and eyes hollow. "Lucy," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the music. "You shouldn't have opened that." Confused and terrified, I dropped the music box. It shattered on the floor, and the melody stopped abruptly. The room fell silent, but I could still feel her presence lingering. I turned to run, but the door slammed shut. My heart pounded as I realized that my grandmother had returned, not to celebrate Christmas, but to warn me of something sinister. It was our first Christmas in the new house, and I was eager to decorate. As I strung up the lights outside, I noticed an old weathered decoration in the attic, a vintage Santa Claus with a twisted smile. I decided to hang it up, thinking it would add character to our home. That night, I awoke to a strange noise outside. Peering through the window, I saw the Santa decoration glowing eerily in the moonlight. It was moving. My heart raced as I watched it sway back and forth. Its smile widening, I rushed downstairs to confront whatever was happening. As I stepped outside, the temperature dropped drastically. The air felt thick with dread. The Santa figure was now standing upright, staring directly at me with lifeless eyes. "Join me," it whispered in a raspy voice. "It's time for your gift." Suddenly, shadows emerged from the darkness, figures of children with hollow eyes and twisted smiles. They surrounded me, their laughter echoing in the cold air. I realized too late that this was no ordinary Christmas decoration. It was a gateway to something far more sinister. Every year, my family gathered around the fireplace on Christmas Eve to sing carols. This year felt different. There was an unsettling energy in the air. As we sang our favorite songs, I noticed a shadow flickering by the window. Ignoring it, I continued singing until an old carol came to mind, one we hadn't sung in years. My voice trembled as I began to sing the forgotten carol. The moment I did, the temperature dropped and the lights dimmed. Suddenly, a chilling wind swept through the room, extinguishing our candles. In the darkness, I heard a soft voice harmonizing with me. A voice that didn't belong to anyone in my family. "Keep singing," it urged. "We must finish what was started." Panic surged through me as I realized that this wasn't just a song, it was a summoning. The shadows in the corners of the room grew darker, and ghostly figures began to materialize, joining in our melody. Their faces were twisted in anguish as they reached out for us. I grabbed my family's hands and pulled them toward the door, but it wouldn't budge. We were trapped in a haunting melody that demanded we finish it. Last Christmas was supposed to be perfect. We had finally bought our dream home and decorated our first Christmas tree together. But when we brought home the tree from an old lot downtown, something felt off. As we adorned it with ornaments, I noticed a strange ornament. A glass angel with cracked wings, hidden among the branches. It was beautiful yet unsettling. That night, as we went to bed, I heard whispers coming from the living room. Curiosity got the better of me, and I tiptoed downstairs. The tree glowed ominously under the soft light of the moon streaming through the window. The angel ornament swayed gently as if beckoning me closer. Suddenly, the whispers grew louder. "Help us! Help us!" I reached out to touch the ornament when a cold hand grasped my wrist. I turned to find myself face to face with ghostly figures trapped within the tree's branches, their eyes pleading for release. "Free us!" they cried in unison, "before Christmas morning comes." In that moment, I realized that our beautiful tree was a prison for lost souls. With each tick of the clock, their desperation grew stronger as they urged me to help them escape before it was too late. It was Christmas Eve when my family decided to host a dinner party for our friends. As we prepared the meal, I felt an overwhelming sense of nostalgia wash over me, the same feeling I had every year since my parents passed away. As we sat down to eat, laughter filled the air until suddenly, the lights flickered and went out. A heavy silence enveloped us as we scrambled for our phones to provide light. When we turned them on, we saw them, my parents, standing at the end of the table as if they had just come from another room. They looked exactly as they did on our last Christmas together, smiling and, "Join us," my mother said softly. My heart raced as I realized they were not just memories. They were here with us now. We sat back down in disbelief as they began to serve us dinner from thin air, their favorite recipes filling our plates. But as we ate, something felt wrong. The food tasted like ash in my mouth. My friends' faces began to twist with horror as they realized what was happening. My parents' smiles faded into sinister grins. "We've missed you," my father said, his voice echoing eerily. "Now you can join us forever." In that moment of realization, panic surged through me as I understood that this Christmas dinner was a trap, a way for them to keep us with them in their eternal feast. Thank you for joining us for today's spine-chilling episode. We hope you enjoyed these haunting tales and found them as captivating as we did. If you liked what you saw, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe for more eerie stories. Stay tuned for our next adventure.